Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Only Land Fan Show. My name is Kendall Lejeune, and our guest today is Anshul Sharma. Anshul Sharma stands at the forefront of the real estate industry with a thriving seven-figure land business under his belt. Specializing in the nuanced art of wholesaling, Anshul remarkably buys and sells an impressive 98% of properties even before closing them. With an average of 150 successful deals each year, he has showcased his unmatched expertise in double closing tactics, setting him apart in the realm of real estate. Not just a land flipper, Anshul is recognized for his acumen in the sales process, often described as an expert in orchestrating the perfect sale. Furthermore, he has a keen ability to find buyers, boasting a track record of connecting properties with their new owners in a staggering 90 days or less. Anshul, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing excellent. Dang, that was heck of an introduction right there.
Do you like that?
Oh, I love it, man. I got to know so many things about me that I didn't think that I do, but
That's it.
yeah.
Awesome. Hey, listen, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you. Let's jump right in. How did you get started in doing land deals?
How do I get started with? I wasn't like looking for like land deals or kind of land kind of stuff. I had a really nice paying W-2 thing, and it was like a good 150K kind of thing. And this is 7, 8, 9 years back. But I didn't like the whole setup because you work for big companies and you got one job to do and you do it right and kind of stuff. I'm the kind of guy who likes to take risk and all that kind of stuff. So the whole kind of job thing wasn't working for me. It did work for a couple of years. I had a great boss who let me do so many different things and I was having a great time. But once he left, I like, okay, this is it. I got to go find something that I find myself free like a bird. That's what I say to myself, free like a bird. So it wasn't the job for me. I started doing different things. I'm a professional options guy. I did options and trading and that kind of stuff. Still like it, still do it. But the problem was I didn't have money. I said, damn, I like options, but I don't have money because in stock market, you got to have money to start with. $5,000, $10,000 is only so much ahead you can get with that kind of money. So I said, hey, you know what? I need to generate some money here. So that's when I started to finding different things and I was doing a full time and I said, I need two things. One, I'm not able to leave my place because it's a full time. I'm stuck to my desk, and two, I don't have money. And I started subscribing to these people and all that kind of good stuff. And here it comes. Somebody told me, hey, you need no money and you can do it from your home. Those were two check boxes. I think I'm on a roll. And 6 years forward, here we are doing land flipping.
That's incredible. So you mentioned a few people guided you in that direction. How did you learn about land? Did you have mentors or did you take classes?
So I started with Jack Bosch. I gotta get full credit to that dude. Amazing team, by the way, over there. Great guys, kind of real deal. And the way I know they were real deal because I've spent thousands of dollars already in like different places, not really in the real estate industry, but outside of real estate industry. None of that worked. And I came across Jack Bosch and his program and it was priced. I latched onto it. It was like very straightforward, the way it was structured. And so, yeah, I went with it. I never really took a full like coaching thing with them, but it just goes to show the way program is structured. It was intuitive and pretty straightforward enough for me to pick it up and slowly start building my business from there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Jack and his team are absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about what was that first land deal like for you?
Damn. You know what? The first land deal was a home run. Until day, I remember it. I made $46,700. And that day, it was a Friday, and I was sweating. That entire day, I sweat. Why? Because I wanted to double close that damn thing. I had it in a contract for around 67. I had a buyer for $112,000, $113,000. And I got no money, like 67,000. I didn't have 6,000 in that bank account. So how gonna do it? And that's comes the beauty of assignment and double closing. And that what I got learned in that one day, how to double close and make 46,700, whatever change that was, that changed the whole thing for me in the land industry. Okay, if I can do a 46,000 on my first deal, I can do this all day long. I need no money.
Absolutely. Yeah. Talk about a proof of concept. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty nice
But it
spread.
was hard. It was hard, man. That day was hard. I still remember that day. I missed 5 of my meetings with my W-2 employer, 5 meetings straight. I didn't even watch my calendar because I called 15 or 16 title companies, and it took me the entire day to find one escrow officer, who made the sense out of what I was blabbering to her, like how I want to close this deal. It was almost like so shady what I was talking to. I say, okay, you want to do a damn pass-through? I say, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. She said, send the contract, send me both contracts. And within 5 minutes, she said, I can do it. She lined up the closing 10 days from there and just got done with it.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
incredible. So what type of deal was it in terms of, was it an infill lot? Was it like slightly larger acreage? What?
Yeah. If I remember it correctly, it was inside a subdivision, but it wasn't like one of those infill lot. It was probably 5 acres or 4 acres kind of property. It was a nice property right outside the market of Austin, when Austin was in Austin 7 years back, kind of stuff.
Nice, really cool. And so you were calling all of these different title companies trying to find the right one that's going to do the type of deal that you want to do. How'd you even know that was possible? What did you say to them? What were you looking for?
Remember, somebody signed me up for the you need no money to make money in this business. I was like,
Yeah.
I literally took it to heart and said, hey, this is it. I got to find somebody who just, and somebody explained me the concept of double close. But then I ran into a tile company. They said, no, you have to fund the first leg with 67 or whatever that number exactly was. I said, no, not going to work. I don't have 65. I want to find a person who need no money from me. And I kept going through this interviewing the title company process on that Friday and finally found one. She said, yeah, we can double close this thing. You need no money. I got this covered. Say, okay,
Yeah.
all right. And that's what I know, that what is a double close versus a pass through. So any of you land investors struggling to closing deals without any money, you gotta just talk the same lingo when you're qualifying these title companies.
I love that. And that's such a huge, important part of the process when you're building your team is finding an investor-friendly title company that will do the types of transactions that you want to do.
Mhm.
So you just mentioned the difference between pass-through and double close and the language and the lingo. So if someone's listening this for the first time and they're used to, I have to use my own money or raise money to close in the lot and then turn around and find a buyer to flip it. Can you talk us through what does that process look like, pass through versus double close, and then what's the general structure of that?
Yeah, you really have three exits if you don't have much funds to work with. One is assignment. That's the best. It really depends how much you're making on an assignment. Because if you're making like 100,000 or 70,000, your buyer might flip out and say, man, what did I do? Why can't I get a deal like at that price? Or your seller might be hesitant and say, oh, okay, I'm losing 70,000. I could have sold this property at a much higher price. So there's a risk factor there. So you got to pick and choose how you want to play with assignment. But assignment is the best. You don't even have to sign a paperwork. You just sign the thing and you move on. You get a money in the bank. The next best is the pass-through, where you have two separate HUDs. And basically the A to B leg is funded with end buyer's money. So they fund the first one and then they fund the second leg. And that's how you close. So you don't bring money to the table. Escrow officer, they have a certain type of paperwork. And if they have been doing this for a long time, they know what kind of paperwork goes in it in order to take C fund to fund the first leg of the transaction and then fund the second leg of the transaction. It might happen the same day. It might happen one day apart or 1 week apart, depending on where you're closing this, what part of the country, what kind of title company, what kind of escrow officer. Everybody has their different comfort levels. But again, this is where title companies are plays a big role in how you want to scale the business. You want to find the right title company. They are my best partners, like the best. And then comes the double close, where you have a buyer lined up, you're trying to flip this thing, and you fund the first transaction, maybe for a day, or maybe for an hour. And then once you fund the first transaction, then comes the funds of the end buyer, that's a C, and they close their side of the transaction, and you get all the money back, maybe the next day or the day after. Yeah, go ahead.
With a double close, you would essentially need to bring some type of funds
Yes.
to fund that very first A to B transaction, whether that's transactional funding, where you take a really short-term loan just to be able to fund that first one, or use your own money or other people's money.
That is correct.
So what would be the benefit of doing a double close over a pass-through?
There is none. If you find a title company that can do a pass-through, why would you even try to wire out your money? There was a time in my business for the first 3 years, there was nothing going out of the bank. My accountants was like, how does it work? There's nothing leaves the bank, it only comes in. Like, how do I make sense of this? And so it was funny. I have to do a whole education process with them. But assignment is best if you can do an assignment. And the reason I say that, because you don't even have to sign any kind of paperwork. It's just you sign from A to C, and you get the wire in for whatever your assignment fee is. So that's the best. But again, with big deals where you're making, a little bit more money, then that can be a problem. I haven't come across it, but it's just because on the HUD statement, everything is exposed to both, like all the three parties. So your seller knows how much is getting assigned for, buyer knows how am I paying for this, and all that kind of stuff. Then comes the pass-through, because in pass-through, they're not disclosing how much I'm paying for the property to my end buyer. So it's two separate deals, two HUD statements. And I don't have to bring my own money. So I'm protected always. I don't have to send the money, all that kind of stuff. So that's my second best. And then comes the double close, where if I have to fund my deal, my first leg for the 1 day or two, that's fine. And then all the money comes back. So I hope I answered that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And so, also, something else to keep in mind when I like to talk to different people about the benefits of each one of these types of transactions, also keep in mind the closing costs, right? There are two sets of closing costs when you're dealing with the pass through, two sets of closing costs when you're dealing with the double close as well. You don't have that when you're just doing an assignment.
That's correct. Yeah, and more likely you can pass the cost of closing to the end buyer, depending how you set up the deal. And if they're getting a good deal, they'll pick the entire closing cost. And then you're out of pocket nothing. You're not even paying for the closing cost. There are many different ways to structure this thing. Nothing is set in stone. It's all business. All depends on negotiation, how you negotiate.
Yeah, that's very cool. Do you have some tips that you can share with us when you're looking for a title company that would be open to doing these types of transactions? What kinds of questions do you ask them when you're starting to interview to look for a title company to bring on to your team?
Look, I wouldn't say that big title companies don't do it, because I have done with as big as Fidelity and Chicago and Independent. All of them do pass-throughs and double closing. It really depends, comes down to that office or to that escrow officer. Sometimes escrow officers say no because they really don't know what pass-through means. That doesn't mean that they can do it. Maybe the escrow officer sitting next door has done that with some other investor and they're willing to take your file. So you have to just call and maybe start with, hey, I don't say, are you investor friendly? Because that doesn't make much sense. I'd say, hey, do you guys do assignments? I start with assignments. And if they're like, then you know that they have like, you won't go much further with them. And then if you say, yeah, we have done assignments, how about a double close? And then you explain them what a double close is. And then you go further with pass-through. How about I don't send any, and you can take C fund to fund the first transaction? And that's when we get interesting. Either say, that's actually illegal, or yeah, we can do that. I just have to take a permission or approval from my manager or from whoever, and I think we can do that stuff. It really depends. You go from assignment all the way into double close kind of situation.
Yeah, it sounds like a key point of that is really understanding how those transactions actually work. That way you can explain it to the title company, because they may understand it through different terms, but if you just explain what you're at least trying to do, that will be enough for them to understand what you're trying to do, right?
Yes.
So what's your answer when someone says that's illegal? I can't do that.
Yeah, I just bow out, man. I just call the next title company. It's difficult to convince and try to do this kind of transaction when they're not ready for it. So the next one, just keep going until you find the right title company.
Yeah, love that. There is going to be someone that's willing to do it. You just have to find the right one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can you talk about what were some of your biggest challenges in doing that very first land deal?
Man, everything was like first time. It's just going on a date until you haven't done it before. It's just so brand spanking new. Everything you just overthinking, pulling the right contract, making sure I'm picking the right contracts on both sides, right? The contract will be different, what you got it under contract for versus what you're trying, what the contract you're using to sell it, right? Those two are different contracts. Then, of course, picking the right title company is important. Making that decision whether how you want to exit this thing. Can you do an assignment? Because it's just easier. But is it? I mean, do you want to do an assignment depending how much you're making on the deal? All those decisions goes into place. Now it comes very natural for me and my team which one we want to pick. But those are the things that are important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned something just now, overthinking. I think that I fell into that trap too whenever I first started, because now that I look back on it, I think that part of what was going through my mind is like, it can't possibly be this easy. It can't possibly be this simple. Expect it to be hard. And while there are some challenging things, it's not always the case, right? We try to
Yes.
overcomplicate things a lot.
Yes. Now, I just got this comment in the chat window from Aaron. What if the buyer backs out? Yeah, that's the risk that you run doing double closing. You gotta have an exit. What if my buyer backs out? That's why we don't ask for low earnest money. Our earnest monies are ridiculous, 10%, 20%. I don't care. If you want to buy this, you gotta put some dough in right up front. Otherwise, because that clears the intent of the buyer to me. If they're not willing to put earnest money, they haven't really decided whether they want to buy or not. They just want to put the thing on the contract. I'm not comfortable doing business with those. So you come up with a nice earnest money, and then we have a deal.
Yeah, that's an absolutely perfect answer to that. And I think since I've been in this business, every year I've actually increased my earnest money, because it's like, hey, listen, if you just said, if they're serious about paying for this property and buying this property, they should have no problem putting down 20% because they want to buy it. If
I
they're okay
know.
with putting 100%, then they should be okay with putting 20% down.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Can you talk a little bit about how you started scaling? So you had that very first deal, you made $46,000, 46,700, I believe you said. Uh,
Hmm.
Incredible proof of concept. I'm sure you were like ready to do this day in, day out. Bring me more deals. So how did you start growing your business to the point where it is now?
Yes, delegation was a necessary evil for me at that time because I got a full time and then I want to replace my full time at that time. So I got no choice but to start delegating stuff that one, either I don't like or I don't have time for and stuff like that. And just keeping stuff to myself, which is not easy to let go. For example, doing comms, right? Maybe talking to a seller and when we are deep into negotiation, that kind of stuff I kept to myself. I found time between my lunch breaks and my meetings and all that kind of stuff to get the deal closed. But everything else I started delegating, and then I found comfort with delegating, and then I started looking what else can I delegate. The things that I thought I cannot never delegate, they're all delegated at this time. I don't think anybody can send a wire out for me to close a deal. I don't do any wires myself. I don't see my bank account no more. Everybody has been handled by somebody else. Nobody can do as good as comms like I do. Well, that's not true. All those things that I thought that I do, that nobody can do a better negotiation like I do on the phone with that's not true. I got people in the company that do better negotiate than I do. All that kind of stuff. Now, these are high-end skills. It takes time to delegate, but the lower end stuff, I started delegating like pretty much, I would say, the first month, because when we started, my wife and I were started together. So she was my first delegate point. And at that point, anything that I didn't like posting on Craigslist because you get flagged and I just kind of started giving to her. And she realized pretty quickly that she was on the receiving end. I getting the short end of the stick here because he, he's doing like things like comms and figuring out the county, and I get to post it on Craigslist. Not gonna happen. But that kind of stuff. So we got to go find somebody who can do that for a living and enjoy doing it.
Yeah, that is a really huge key, I think, to growing that business, is just making sure that you are actively delegating. And you mentioned letting go of some things. I think that is huge, especially for people that kind of start from zero or start from square one and they've built everything and they feel like, oh, I can't let this go because it's so important to the business and I can't let that go. But honestly, if you just train correctly,
Yep.
you can delegate everything. So what were some of can you talk about what your business model was in terms of how you found the properties and then
Mhm.
how you disposed the properties when you first started, like your first year?
Yeah, business model, quite honestly, haven't really changed. We pull data from, used to pull it from Agent Pro 24/7, if anybody remembers that. And then we switched over to data tree and we pull data from there and just do cleaning that needs to be done, send the mailers and that kind of stuff. And and then as soon as we get stuff under contract, we put it on the market because I'm assigning, I'm wholesaling and that kind of stuff. and try to do an assignment or a double close, go from there. The only thing I have changed, if I were to, in this whole thing, is we don't do mailings anymore. I have done texting quite a bit in the last 18, 20 months exclusively. I don't remember. I think at the beginning of the year was my last batch of mailings in 2022. After that, it's all been, you have been texting. And I'm not against mailers. We're still gonna come back and do some, but we have been so consumed in doing texting and learning that, and just we really never had the time to come back to do mailing, but all that kind of good stuff. But that's the only thing that I have really changed in the way I do business. Otherwise, everything remains the same. We just added more fuel to the fire, if I would say, in the last 5 years of how I conduct business.
That's fantastic. So let's start from square one. When you are picking a target market, what types of things do you look for when you're picking potential markets and then when you're testing these markets?
By the way, before we go into that, can I give a shout out to a couple of people here?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, so I got my buddy, Casey, but I'd love to see you here. So Casey and I started about the same time. Casey started before me, but when I was there at the event, Casey was the person sitting next to me. So I know Casey in my land journey from day one. I love this dude, amazing guy.
That's
I got
awesome.
one of my team members here on the call. Her name is Mariam. She's probably off camera at this time. They're just listening in too. Mariam is my number one negotiator. She negotiates deal better than I do, and she's an amazing. And she's 21 years old. So 2 shout outs people that I'm here on the webinar with. So thank you. Now let's get into the real stuff. Questions.
I love that. I love that. No, you've got some special folks on. I'd love to see that support. Coming back to the target markets, how do you go about picking a target market and how do you go about testing it? What do you look for?
Yeah, when I started, I was doing Texas area because I used to live in Texas. I'm still in Texas in Round Rock. I used to do counties, right? Very obvious, maybe Travis, Williamson, and Hayes County and Guadalupe and all that kind of good stuff. But as competition came in, these counties got a lot of competition, all that kind. So we started to spread out. And my minimum criteria to pick a county is I look for very obvious things. Does that county has a Walmart? Does human live in that? Because I'm not a guy who buy and sell desert squares. I have never done that. I'll never do it. Kudos to people who do it and make a living off of it. I have never done that. And so I find counties where either there's an interstate or some kind of thing going on, because if there's an interstate, there's this kind of development, there are businesses, is there a Walmart, is there a Walgreens? I want to be where people are already living there and they have a job. So I try to be in those counties or one over. So that has been my criteria for a long period of time. And we still stick to it. Even if I'm going to a new state, I try to find where are these things located. And that gives me an idea where people are living, they have jobs, so they probably want some kind of land, some kind of parcel. So pretty straightforward. I don't overcomplicate how I find counties.
Excellent. And so are you, and you just mentioned another state. Are you in multiple states? How many states are you in? Are you nationwide?
Yeah, I want to be nationwide. There are 50 states, and I promised myself by the time I'm 50, I got to be in 50 states in some capacity. But I think we have done deals in probably 20, 25 states. By share, a lead came into our website and they signed up and they wanted to sell a parcel. And but we actively pursuing 5 to 6 states right now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you mentioned texting. So let's dive into that marketing component. Which platform are you using for texting right now?
Launch Control, which is down from last 3 or 4 days. So congratulations.
Yes, I know. I'm on Launch Control too. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. How long have you been with Launch Control?
I think we started in 2021, but we did not really take it seriously. We closed 1 or 2 deals, but really in 2022, when I saw not a great return on my mailers, and I say, hey, okay, we need to test and try different things. And then texting came along. Shout out to Callan Faulkner, who got me hooked with texting and with Launch Control. And she just called me, hey, Anshul, you want to listen to it? And say, okay, let's roll. And so she showed me the texting platform, and the way Callan explained things, she breaks things down so simple. And so I got hooked onto texting, and we just took it from there. We found results. And the biggest reason we stuck with texting the last 2 years, because the lead time, the response time is literally a day, versus with mailers, that time period is 3 to 4 weeks. That kind of frustrated me as a business owner who wants to be nimble and move fast in different places. that 4 weeks is like a entire month to understand whether I want to keep pursuing that county. And it's a very expensive way to figure out. And I was like, you know what? I want to be in different states. I don't want to be at one place. So if I have to go different places and test them out and vibe it out, I need to go to a model which is more lean and fast and give me feedback in a day and not in a month.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can get much faster feedback. And just to shout out again, Callan, I am probably one of the biggest members of the Callan Faulkner fan club. She's absolutely incredible. She actually has a launch control course right now that she's offering. So if anyone's listening to this and you want to get in on this course, I would definitely suggest doing that. I think Anshul can also testify to that, how good she is. But you can go ahead and we have that link on, we'll have that in the show notes, and it will also be in the description below as well. But definitely check that out because that will be a game changer in your business for sure. So coming back to the texting, how many text messages do you send a day?
That's a quick question. I like to say about 3,000 to 5,000 texts a day.
Wow, that's a good amount. That's aggressive. And I really like what you mentioned about testing markets because it's relatively cheap in comparison to mail and you get feedback fast. So you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to wait a month or two just to see if it works. So can you talk a little bit about what your texting sequence looks like? Once you send out that initial text message, what happens there? Do you have a texter? And kind of walk us through that process.
Yeah, man, I love to say that we are pretty sophisticated how our sequence work, but we all over the place. But there are a few good things that we do that I'm gonna share with you. So we try to text. The first outreach is a text message, but we qualify them on the phone. Our text is to get on the phone. Our text is not to qualify lead texting back and forth. Okay, and we tried that, and you really never build a relationship with the seller. What we do, we text and try to get them on the phone and build that relationship while we're trying to qualify them if we want to sell the property. Okay, and that has helped quite a bit in sending more offers, building a repo to ultimately closing the deal. Okay. Yeah, so that's where we start. And then it's followed up by more phone calls and follow-up text messages that launch control allows you to do it. So it's really a combination of that, leaving voicemail, sending an email, and that kind of stuff.
Got it. Yeah, that's really fantastic advice. I think that like when I first started texting, we were spending a lot of time texting because people would want to just have conversations via text because it's a lot easier, right? So like you can just literally respond via text. But what we were finding is everyone wanted to respond and say, yeah, tell me what my land is worth. They weren't actually motivated sellers or they weren't really interested. But I think that like what you mentioned, getting them on the phone, that takes a little bit more energy and effort to do that. And so when you know that you can get them on the phone, it's so much that will help qualify in and of itself to a certain degree.
Yeah,
So
qualifying on a phone versus qualifying on a text are two different level of qualification. Like the confidence interval of you qualifying somebody on the phone and actually seriously taking your offer and considering it is much higher than you just qualifying them over a text message. Because as you said, I might be having the last coffee of the day and somebody texted me and say, I got nothing to lose here, man. You already have the information, send me off.
absolutely.
And versus you get them on the phone and we ask them probing questions, and now we know where they are on the scale of 1 to 10, they want to sell the property.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then there's also things that that you will pick up on a phone call that you cannot possibly pick up on a text message, especially when you think about negotiating, matching that person's tone, all of that stuff. There's so much nuance to that you can pick up on a phone call that it's not possible on a text. Definitely agree with that, driving them to the phone call. That nurture sequence, what does that look like in terms of like how do you get their email address? What do you do with email addresses? What are some things that you're finding that are working for you guys right now?
Yeah, at the time of qualifying, we always send the offer via email. We got off of the mail thing. Hey, we're going to send me give me an email. I'm going to send you an offer. And once we have captured that email and we already know their phone number, they go into a follow-up boss system And as the name suggests, follow-up boss, it just helps us focus on our follow-up efforts, because in real estate, money is in follow-up, period. If there's anything I learned in my life in the last 7 years, is the word follow-up changed my think like forever. So you need a system, whatever the system is, that allows you to get to your seller or buyer in a short amount of time and help you go back to them, like with sequences, the way they manage your lead. That's super important, right? As soon as we qualify somebody, you send an offer, we move them over into follow-up boss. And from follow-up boss, we have a whole sequence, right? We put them in the right bucket, either nurture or call me later or send an offer, follow up, all the kind of good stuff.
Excellent. And for those that are listening that may not know, Follow Up Boss is actually a CRM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
I love that. I love the idea of send us your email address. We'll send you the offer that way. That way you get their email address. Because I was just having a conversation with Callan the other day about this, that email address is really our king, because then you own that information. If something happens where you can't, say they pass legislation, say there's no more texting, no more texting, you at least have their email address, right?
Sure.
Super, super cool. So can you talk to us about your criteria for deals? So what types of deals do you look for? What are some things that have to check the check boxes to qualify for a deal that you would do?
With the scale of business, trying not to do anything which makes us less than $5,000 after everybody's paid. So we're not looking into anything which is 10,000 or less in market value. Try not to. If somebody falls, something come in the pipe, sure, we'll do it, but it's not where we want to be. Given the current climate, I'm not leaning too much in infill lots or subdivisions. So we're trying to stay bigger acreage, 1 acre and up. Sweet spot is 1 to 30 acres, I would say.
Excellent. And so you to do double closes and pass throughs, assignment fees. Let's talk about the dispo process. You don't technically, this is not a property that you own. And so how do you go about dispoing the deal?
Yeah. So we make sure that we got the lingo right. We're not selling the property, we're selling the contract. Okay. So the way we list our properties, contract for sale, make sure that the lingo is right. It's a wholesale deal. We disclose that to the buyer. It's a wholesale thing, and have the whole 9-yard kind of pitch over there as we are open escrow with the tile company and all that kind of good stuff. But we're not selling property, we are selling contracts here and that kind of stuff. So we set the expectation with the buyer, where we coming from, how we got there, where we are, what's their role in the deal, and that kind of stuff. Sometimes hard with the realtors, but they come on board when you walk them through the entire process.
Excellent. So you just mentioned realtors. Do you actually hire a realtor and pay commission, or do you do something like a flat fee listing service?
Yeah, so we do the flat fee listing service for properties that we are wholesaling. You can go to brokerlist.com. I've been using those guys 5 years. They'll take your listing with equitable interest. Not every state, but most of the states they cover. And predominantly, we are in those states where they let us do it and making our way from there. But yeah, we do it at MLS, and I don't hire realtors. If they bring us an offer, we entertain it. We pay them commission, 3%, 5%, whatever we negotiate. And that's it. So I have an internal sales reps that kind of sell the properties for us.
That's great. And that's a really good point too that you said just now, is that you are predominantly in states that do allow you to market equitable interest. That can, if you're interested in doing this particular model, that would really drive the decision about which target market you're going to be in. Don't go look for target markets that you can't do this in.
Don't go to South Carolina.
Don't go to South Carolina. So let me ask you, speaking of dispo, do you also sell on, you mentioned Craigslist earlier. Do you still do Craigslist? Do you do Facebook Marketplace? What other types of things are you doing to market to buyers?
I wanted to keep my marriage, so I let go Craigslist because nobody was interested in posting Craigslist, including my wife. I say, okay, whatever. So we tried Craigslist, and we dramatically failed doing Craigslist. But Facebook Marketplace, MLS, our own buyers list, neighbor letters is how we sell. And so if I were to put a number just for audiences to understand how we're selling properties, I would say 50% goes off of marketplace, 40 to 50%. Another 30% is coming through MLS Another, I would say 10% is through our buyers list that we have built over the last couple of years. Another 5% maybe naval letters, though it could be bigger. We don't do enough as we should. And then another 5 is through like places like land flip and signboards and stuff like that.
Hey there, land fans. If you're enjoying this episode and would like to see more episodes like this, please be sure to let us know by liking and subscribing below. Awesome. And I've talked to a lot of people, and it's almost like a love and hate relationship with Facebook Marketplace. They either love it or they hate it. So, what are some things that you guys are doing to make sure that you're successful with Facebook Marketplace? Are you boosting the ads? Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so first of all, we have multiple Facebook Marketplace accounts. One shuts down, we go on another one. So that's a very tactical approach. Keep opening Marketplace accounts if you can, because we do. Okay, we know what gets banned on Facebook Marketplace, so we don't try to do it. But once in a while, our accounts get banned. We know how to retrieve them, get them back. So we do get them back either in a couple of days, couple of weeks, but there's a process to get them back. But the marketplace is first of all free. So there is nothing to get mad about if it shuts down. It's free, guys. It's a free tool. You're not something you're paying for it. But again, as I said, open multiple Facebook accounts. There's some best practices. I created a quick PDF guide on Facebook, best practice kind of thing. You guys can grab it from my site. Basically, the long short story is that it works, and you don't have to be super descriptive on Facebook Marketplace. I always tell people Facebook Marketplace is not the place where you tell everything about this property. Facebook Marketplace is somewhere where you just have to get your property up to get enough exposure so people start looking at it. You don't tell like you can have horses and chickens and all that hunting, because Facebook doesn't like that kind of stuff. They're going to shut you down. So you just want to put bare minimum information just to get your ad up and start collecting leads. And once you have those leads contact you, then you can tell them everything about your property. You can text them the link to your website and that kind of stuff. So Facebook is great. Just it's a little bit delicate. You need to handle it that way, but it's a great platform to source leads.
That's fantastic. So I know that like when I have used Facebook Marketplace in the past, depending on the property, depending on the price range, depending on the market, sometimes you just get flooded with, is this still available? Is this still available?
Yes.
Right? How do you go about processing that, and how do you work those leads to sift through the tire kickers and find the serious buyers?
We don't assume if anybody's tag kicker just because they say if it's available. We respond to everybody. That's where the team comes in. I'm not responding to these guys. I got a team and they have a process. Anybody who hits us up, they got to send them the text. And if they ask additional information, keep doing it, keep qualifying it. So it's good that people are hitting us up because they do have some kind of intention to buy some kind of land parcel. It might be not this one, but you want to throw them into your buyer's list. You don't want to let them go. So that's why we have follow-up posts on both sides. If somebody is hitting you up, that means they have some level of intention. They want to buy a property, maybe not today, maybe a year from now, but keep collecting those people. Right. So we continue the conversation. Somebody says still available. Sure, it is. What can I do for you? Build a conversation, a more natural conversation than you responding back. Yes. That would be the dumbest answer. Like, I know it takes time. Copy. Maybe put it on a copy paste. Hey, just have your quick responses on a notepad, copy paste it, but do not do yes. Because if they said that and you said yes, that shows that you have no interest, no level of commitment dealing with your buyer. So just be more descriptive, be human, get their interest. They may not be buying today, put them in your buyers list, ask them what they want to buy, and move forward from there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So if I heard you correctly, you are building your buyers list from Facebook Marketplace inquiries, and you're
Yeah.
putting that in Follow Up Boss, and you're nurturing those relationships with those
Yes.
buyers. Can you
Yes.
give us a few examples how you nurture those relationships?
We basically, the way we maintain our leads in follow-up posts, we tag them. Every lead that comes into follow-up posts, we have some level of information, idea what they're looking for. For example, hey, they're looking for a land in Bastrop County. Okay, what size? Okay, do they looking something that has mobile home on it? So we put tags. So now I know about my lead. I know. So next time a property comes in, we put the filters. Somebody asked for Bastrop County, 10 acres. Here comes a list of 100 people. We hit them up. Right. So you don't even have to list the property. You have already 100 people who asked you in the past, I need a property in Bastrop County, 100 acres. Let's go from there.
Yeah, I love that. And so are you sending out like email blast to that smaller list of people? What do you use for email?
Texting. We don't email. I haven't really found much response on email. And second, that we are very, as a company, we're very impatient. If we can do something on text and get a response in the next 2 minutes, nobody's interested to send a mail. Like,
No, I love that. I love that.
yeah, Follow Boss allows you to filter and select those 100 and send them a text, literally a very custom text. And we had a great success with that.
That is fantastic. I really like that. Can you also talk a little bit about when you are dealing with buyers and we did talk about the process of getting deposits, things like that, to just make sure that you're qualifying these buyers. What happens when you have a property and you literally just can't move it? What are some of the levers that people can pull? And obviously we all know about decreasing the price, but let's say you have a property and you just can't move it. What kind of things do you do?
Just to be clear, you have a property that you already bought, or you are still in the contract with the seller? What's
You're still under contract with the seller.
Look, one of the things that I learned from Jack Bosch program is you're not the buyer, you're not the market. If I had it on the market for 90 days or 60 days and they're not buying it, I'm not buying it. If it's not good for my end buyer, it's not good for me. I just cancel the contract, move on, honestly.
Excellent.
Now, you have to be very clinical in your approach in those 60, 90 days. Okay, you have to have the best property description, pictures, whatever. But if my buyer's not liking it, and they will tell you why they did not like the property, right? Hey, it got so much trash on it. I can't imagine spending another $10,000 to pick all the tires on the property. Okay, does that work for me? Maybe, depending on the deal. If it's a $100,000 deal, I'll shell out $10,000 to clean up the property to make that $50,000, $60,000. Might not be worth for my buyer or whatever the reason is. I need to know the reason why I had it on the market for 60 days and nobody went into contract with me. If I do not have a reason and I can process that, I'm not buying the property. If I have the reason and it works for me, then we go buy it, do the thing that we need to, and then put it back on the market. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's a really good point. I know a lot of people list a property and not even do price reductions, just list it. And 60 days later, it's not selling and they don't know why. I think it's so important, like you just said, get feedback on the property. If someone passes on it, ask them why. And then a lot of times what I like to do is I like to go back to the seller and renegotiate the price using all of the reasons that the people said that they didn't want to buy it, right? That's how you're getting information about the properties. That's really good advice. Thank you for sharing that. So can you talk a little bit about what are some of the main deal breakers for you? Things that kill deals that you won't necessarily touch if it has X, Y, or Z?
Some are really out of your control. Title issues, right? Some gets really gnarly. 60 people dead, 5 alive, 2 don't want to sign the contract, all that kind of good stuff. We let them go because of title reasons. One obvious is road access, right? If I'm not getting a clear understanding of the road access, I'm not going to do it. Or if I'm doing it, I know what my exit would be on that property. 5 years back, I bought a property for $2,000, sold it for $27,000, literally to the person living next to the property, right? That guy who used to own the property lives in Ohio, brother lives in a different state. They're never coming back Texas. I just shelled $2,000, $3,000, paid them. The person next door wanted that property for her son. So the road access isn't a problem because she can give access to her property, problem solved. She wanted a property, someone wanted a property, seller wants the money, we good. So you should know your exit on a road landlocked property. And if you have one, great. But if you don't and it's a landlocked property, that's the property that we walk away from.
Very good. That's really good insight. I did want to ask, when you're talking to sellers and you're negotiating with sellers, how do you position yourself as knowing that you want to try to wholesale this deal? You don't position yourself as the end buyer, or do you position yourself as the end buyer? What is that conversation like when you're talking to that seller to set them up to be able to do this type of deal?
If they ask the question, are you a wholesaler? This is my answer. I do deals 5 ways. I buy them, I keep them, I finance them, I subdivide them, I flip them. I don't know what I'm going to do with this property, but I know I'm the right buyer for you because I'm going to get you paid within 60 days. Can you please sign the contract? Let's roll. Okay, because I really don't know what I'm going to do at that time. I'm going to double close, buy it, sit on it, subdivide it, seller find it. I don't know. So I don't have a definite answer. Not everything I buy, I wholesale, right? Wholesaling is like assigning. Double closing pass through is not, it's flipping, but that's not what I say. I say I have 5 exit strategies and it works because I'm not lying. I'm just telling them in a very different, sophisticated manner. So,
For sure. Yeah, no, I really like that. And I think that it's important to explain that to a seller. Have some type of education process when you're talking
yes.
to the seller. That way, because most people don't know, like they've only done maybe 1 or 2 land transactions in their entire lives. You have to explain
Yes.
it. So that's great. I really like that wording. Let me ask you, what if someone is just now listening to this, they're really interested in doing wholesaling, doing some pass-throughs. What are some of the most important needle moving actions that newbies need to take on a daily basis?
Oh man, number one is get committed to your business. I see so many people doing it half-ass. They're just trying to keep the business alive, and that's not how business is run. Unless you're fully committed, none of these strategies actually work, right? You got to be committed first. You'll find a way whether you want to sign it, double close it, pass through it. But if you're not committed to your business, because there will be rough patches, right? Okay, man, this is not working. Send 10,000 letters. I have people like send 10,000 letters. How many people called you? Like 50, 100. Did you ever call them back? No, I'm phone shy. I'm that shy. I'm like, come on, dude, you already spent $5,000, $7,000. You better pick the phone and get some guys. I don't know if that's the right answer or that's the answer audience expect, but you gotta be really committed to your business. Running a business is hard in itself, and if you do not have 100% commitment, even the easiest low-hanging deals not gonna come your way. It doesn't matter how much about land business in theory. You got to put it to test. You got to pick the phone yourself, call them, get it in the contract, and see where you want to go with that. I would say get committed, find your leads, work them, follow up, and then if you don't figure out how to do it, hit me up. I'll help you get that first deal to the finish line. Okay, so
I love that. So many great nuggets just in that answer alone. One of the things that sticks out the most to me is embracing the fact that it's going to be hard sometimes and just having the commitment to push through even when it is hard. Because if it wasn't hard, everyone would be doing this. And then you also you made the comment that they're like doing it halfway in, halfway out. I think Logan Fulmer, I had Logan on the podcast not too long ago, and he had an incredible kind of statement about this. He said that he had to make the switch from being a deal shop to being a land business. Those are 2 completely different things, right? You can do a few deals, do a few land deals. That doesn't mean you have a land business. Structuring it to be consistent, that's an entirely different thing, right?
yeah, yeah. That's when you get from a teenager to an adult.
That's it.
So,
That's it. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Let me ask you, what, in your opinion, is something that not very many people are talking about in the land industry that we should be talking about?
man, that's a pretty sophisticated question. I'm a pretty tactical business guy. I think, I don't know, quite honestly, some few things that I'm focused on and I want to pursue is, hey, how SEO works, because I want to be in 50 states and I really want deals to come to me rather than me hunting for deals. And I want to be really at the top of the funnel when it comes to SEO. Okay. Do I have that skill? Anybody in my company have the skill? No, but we have already seen the fruits of if SEO works, it brings some really great deals for you. So that's something I'm interested in. Ever since I got to put my hand on ChatGPT, I've started using it for my business. I want to see how I can take it to the next level, right? What kind of automations can I bring? Especially when you scale, a small automation can save you thousands of minutes, which can be money, right? So like with scaling, you gotta be really efficient with your resources and money. And I'm really interested in how ChatGPT can help us simplify a few processes or maybe do the comms for us, maybe do fall. I don't know, but that's something I'm very eager to explore. I haven't really found a starting point, but we do use ChatGPT right now, but not to the extent that it's capable of. So those are 2 places where I want to go and explore more. if I have enough time on my hands.
Yeah, I think that the use of AI is just going to change the face of a lot of real estate based businesses. So it's going to be very exciting to see how that kind of progresses and evolves.
Mhm.
So you mentioned earlier that right now in this particular market, you're finding that the sweet spot is about 1 to 30 acre parcels. How do you go about navigating in the market that's recently changed? For example, I'm seeing a lot of people when I'm approaching these sellers, I'm seeing a lot of people wanting at retail price, wanting over retail price. Particularly here in Texas, we're seeing a lot of counties that have just doubled and tripled the tax value. So people think that, oh, my property is magically going up in value. How do you talk to these sellers and negotiate in a way that it makes it possible for you to be able to do wholesale deals or doing it as a pass through or a double close?
Yeah, great question. It has two sides to it. One, what I want to get out of the deal, right? So we pick properties at 85% value and still be able to wholesale for $100,000, right? So it really depends on the deal, right? And depends on what market you are in. If I'm Dallas market, I pick for 90%. I don't care. Pick for $90,000, flip it for 100,000, make money in 14 days and get out of it. Right. So we are looking at what we want to make out of this deal. And if the number works with the seller, and if it sits good with us, depending on the market we are in and the product we have, we take that under contract. Now that comes with experience, right? Where you are and how quickly you can move this stuff. Other markets, we go 50%. We need enough room and that kind of stuff. So there is no one answer to it. One is what we want out of the deal. And we are okay taking that kind of risk. Okay. Number two is, I think we do a better job negotiating the contract itself. People think people sign up for the highest price on the contract, and that's absolutely not true. Okay. Let me repeat that one more time. People do not sign to the contract that they are offered most. That's not true. People sign the offer where they think that this party will take them to the finish line or come across as more credible. They know their stuff. Educate your seller and get the property under contract, right? So somebody will sign a $10,000 contract with you educating them, telling them what you bring to the table, versus signing with somebody else for $15,000 with no education, no relationship, nothing. Has happened all day. We come across sellers and we put them under contract. So we have to get away from that idea that highest price wins. That's not true. Okay. So once you come to that agreement, then you have a skin in the game because you're educating your seller, bringing them, telling them the credibility, how you work, how you have done 700, 800 deals in your lifetime, how you close them, the variety of deals, and have a conversation, educate them. They will be impressed. And once they're impressed, they're ready to go with a lower offer because they have a higher confidence that you will bring this deal to fruition versus signing up with somebody else who put it under contract for 90 days or 180 days and never gave a call back, and it just expires. So two things, right? So you just balance those two and see how you wanna navigate.
Yeah, that is fantastic advice. I think that it's really easy for us. I know, at least speaking for myself, when I first got started, it was so easy to only be worried about the deal itself and the numbers in the deal versus what customer experience am I actually creating for that seller, right? So, like you just mentioned, having an education sequence showing that shows validity, that shows credibility. People want to do business with other successful people. And so they know that if you can get the deal done, they'll
Yeah.
much rather go with you. So that's really fantastic advice. Thank you for sharing that. So, what would you consider to be your superpower?
Mm. Man, showing up every day, showing up on Christmas, showing on January 1st, December 25th. Okay, Thanksgiving, like every day I show up. I don't care what day it is. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do something good for my business. Maybe half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours all by myself, but I got to show up every day.
Love that. And what's your definition of success?
Make money. I guess if it's business, I got to make money, more money than what I made last year, and have fun doing it. You just got to enjoy what you're doing at a certain level. And that could be different things for different people. I like the idea of growing, and I see my business kind of an extension of me, and just have a healthy business, right? I am not comfortable making the same money I made last year. I'm just like, that means I haven't grown, because if my business is an extension of me, I haven't grown in the last 1 year. So I'm trying to do better what I did last year. One of the biggest joys that I have in my company, that I have people all across the world working in this company. We have so many different religion, race, color, where they're coming from, and what fundamentals they have in life. It's so different, but we still come together and make these deals happen. That's the biggest joy of my life. I have found all these people all across the globe that we come every day and we try to accomplish one goal, to sell this stuff. And that just brings so much happiness. Like, how would I have known these people in Egypt and Philippines, Central America, Canada, US, like all over the place, had I not had this business? I would have never known about these people. Now I do. I know about them, their culture, what they like, what they don't like. So that's just the joys of life that I get while trying to make some money running this business.
Yeah, that's really remarkable. I love that. I love that there are so many different types of people coming together for one goal and talk about an impact it must be making on their lives. That's incredible. You mentioned delegation earlier. It sounds like you're very comfortable with delegating and having people on your team. Can you give us some pointers about how you go about training? What are some things that people can do if they're looking to expand their team,
Yeah.
just to make sure that quality control is there and that they're training successfully?
Couple of things. One, try delegate things. If they break, it doesn't break your business. Hey, put this property on Zillow. Like, how wrong they can go with it. They might list a 10-acre property for 20 acres and they might just change the price. That kind of stuff. It doesn't shut your business. So you really have to see what you're delegating. Okay. What's the risk factor? If they completely go wrong with this thing, how bad your business could get. Right. And then build your confidence from there. I didn't start delegating, hey, let's do a comp on this 100-acre property. That's not where I started with my delegation business. Can you put this thing on Craigslist? Because apparently nobody could, including my wife. Can you do that for me, please? Yeah, sure. And that kind of stuff. Then you get comfortable on delegating and you know what the risk is. So understand the risk, see if they completely go wrong, how bad would your business be? And you're okay with that, just go for it. Because you got to get comfortable with delegation if you want to make more money. There's no other way. At least I don't know how to make more money without delegating stuff. So right now, like in my company, almost everything is delegated. There are really a couple portion that I've kept to myself. And even that I have other team members' opinion before we go and make a decision. It's not, nothing in my business that I do right now is completely I'm not the only decision maker. I would say that.
Fantastic. And so when you're looking to hire people to bring on, whether it's a virtual assistant or someone that is just in a different country, what do you look for? How do you interview them? How do you decide this is a person that I can bring into the team?
Man, I'm getting better with my interviews. And I really don't know if I'm getting better, but I see a pattern there. But you know what? I heard this one line from Gary Vaynerchuk 5 years back. Skills are cheap, passion is priceless, attitude is priceless. We hire for passion and attitude, and the skill comes along with it, bingo. But if it doesn't, I have enough patience to teach that person what I need to teach them in order to keep, because a person with great attitude will be willing to learn a super brand new skill and take it to the next level versus a person having the skill with a bad attitude. That is a no. So we look for transferable skills. I'm not looking for a cold caller. I'm looking for somebody who has communication and has done some kind of thing on the phone. If I can turn that person with a great attitude into a cold caller, bingo, let's go. I'm not looking for a person who know how to do land comps. I'm looking for a person who is comfortable with numbers and maybe know how to pull up Google Maps, which is kind of important doing comps, right? If they have that kind of skill set, they have that kind of flavor, transferable skills as they taught me in my MBA program, I'm willing to hire them because we're going to put them through our training process anyways and make them that ninja comp person. So I'm not looking for a comp person. I'm looking for skills which are transferable, but I'm definitely looking for attitude, right attitude. You're going places.
I love that. That's really good. What would you say that you do differently than others in the land space that contributes to your success?
Hmm. I don't know if I do differently, but a couple of things I learned is about business and maybe going in the circles of Grant Cardone and those guys. And I stick to that. I don't look at my expenses. expenses in my company is ridiculous. You'll be like, what the heck? I'm looking at the top line number. Okay. And every year I have only one goal. I got to double the top line. Okay. Does it come with more expenses? Heck yeah. Okay. Every year, every month, I have more expenses than I had last month. But that's not my focus. Okay. Can we optimize? Can we have less expenses? Sure, we can. But my singular focus is to go twice in revenue every year what we did last year. And I haven't broken that streak in the last 5 years. Every time we have doubled in revenue. Okay. So that's my single focus. Whatever it takes to get there, that's what we're going to do. This is what we're doing this year. This is what we're going to do next year. Now it's difficult to go from a 2.2 to a 5. Okay. It gets difficult to go from a 5 to 10, but that's the hustle. That's the goal. Whatever it takes to get there, that's what we're going to do.
I love that. Whatever it takes. That's a really good mantra. Talk a little bit about who are some of your favorite entrepreneurs, business owners, maybe influencers, thought leaders. Who do you like to follow to get some inspiration and that type of thing?
Man, I like to follow Kendall on. Yeah, he has the Ferrari of podcast, man. Like nobody, in my opinion, nobody does this better than Kendall. So I'm following you, dude. For all the good people that you have on the podcast, are definitely a top. Outside of that, I've spent a bunch of money with people like Cardone. Okay, thousands of dollars more than I could afford to. I have found like the lessons that I've learned spending that money, I don't think I could have learned. When you spend money, you tend to learn those lessons a different way than somebody trying to tell you that for free for the next 10 years. And all right, I got you, that kind of stuff. Lessons like, hey, if you want to grow the business, you better get under process documentation. Somebody could have said that to me 10 years back. And I'm like, sounds like a good idea. But it's not an idea for us anymore. It's top priority in the company to get everything documented. Why? If you want to scale, you got to document. 2, you got to have KPIs. Yeah, what is KPI? Key performance indicator. Sounds like a neat idea. It's not an idea for us anymore. We got to have KPIs for every single thing we do in the company. If you got no KPIs, you can't scale. Those are the big themes that you need to implement in your company if you want to grow. You got to have a technology that works along with you. The software that works for a $2 million company is not going to work for 20 million if that's where you want to go, right? So those are big strategic pieces that you got to get in line if you want to scale the business. So it's super important. So I forgot the question, but
no, you answered it great. You mentioned Cardone, that you follow Cardone.
Yeah.
Are there any other maybe authors, business owners that you like to follow?
Yeah, I follow Gary Vaynerchuk quite a bit, and I follow different guys. There are some great personalities, but I have learned a lot of lessons from Grant Cardone just because I've been following him, and then I spend like real money to go into different places and learn that stuff from him and his team. So
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. What is one of the biggest surprises that you've had so far on your journey into the land space?
surprises, huh? Man, I don't know. It's like a surprise to me. I really don't know if I got many surprises. It's every day is an adventure. You get to learn something new. Hiring people, I thought I'm so great at hiring people, got to know, not really. So I'm trying to get better. But that kind of stuff, I thought you need to have an American accent to negotiate. I was freaking wrong because I do not have one, and I've negotiated millions of dollars of property. Kind of surprised myself there. Those kind of surprises.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Because you hit a really big key there. I think that when you are in the process of actually growing a business, not just doing deals, but growing a business that does deals, you learn so much about yourself, so
Yes.
much about some of maybe the limiting beliefs that you might have, and you really do have to, it's a self-development process to grow your business because you have to grow as a person, right? That's really good stuff. What's your biggest passion or goal you'd like to achieve at this point in your life?
Man, I want to build a legit business. I don't think I have a legit business yet. And a business that truly can stand on its own, even if I'm gone. I can say that right now about my business. If I'm gone, business is gone, quite honest with you. So I'm in the pursuit of building something, not necessarily pass it on to my kids or whatever. I just want to build a business, and businesses cannot run on one person. It's not a business, it's a hobby. If the business is running because of you, it's a hobby. It's not a business. And my business is not yet there. So I would like to build a business that even if I'm gone and hit by that bus, my business is still running. That's one of the things that I want to test myself as a leader. Can I ever build a business that can run without me? Maybe I can. I don't know. I'll find out. But that's something that I'm in pursuit of as a business person.
Yeah, I love that. What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
Kendall, where do you get all these questions, man? They're so difficult. Ask that question one more time.
What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
What feels me inspired? Man, I just see other people's success in the land business. My buddy Clint Turner, man,
Yeah.
such a young guy. Look at that dude. I always get inspired when I listen to anything from him. We have been buddies for a couple of years and we started at the same time. Where he has took the business. Every time I hang out with them or he calls me, I call him. Like always, there's a moment of inspiration. What he talks about, and there are other people too in my circle. It just feels inspired. Just I feel like, damn, man, I got ways to go. That kind of feeling, and that kind of puts a lot of inspiration in me. So.
Yeah, I love that. No, I absolutely love that. Clint's amazing. Clint is, he's the real deal. So, if you could go back to teach your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Mm. You know what? Health is equally important as wealth. As you grow, just go a long way. You got to have a great health along while you're making money. I got to tend to really internalize that later part of my life. Really never felt that way in my 20s and my 30s. I'm almost entering in my 40s, but really like health is a super priority for me. I wish I could have been a little bit different with my everything I did in my 20s than what I'm doing right now. Maybe hit the gym when I was in 20s than what I'm doing right now. If I could go back and change one thing, that would be one thing that I focus more a little bit
Yeah,
on.
never too late, man. By the way, I see that you are doing it. You're in the gym now. You're doing the,
I am doing it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just at that point that enough is enough.
yeah,
I just need to give myself the best shot to just live a really healthy life.
I love that. I love that. I want to thank you so much. You've given us so much of just experience and wisdom, and I want to thank you for that. What are you currently looking for right now? How can we give back to you? Are there any resources or connections that you're looking for right now?
Man, I think where I'm in the business, I think there are a lot of different people doing different things, but something tactical, I'm looking people who, buy notes. So I'm trying to liquidate some of my portfolio with notes. That would be one. Um, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and looking to see if there are people who want to fund some of our bigger transaction, like 600,000, 700,000, like bigger acreages, that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that I'm gonna go ahead and open is if you are a land developer or you want to split big parcels, I don't do it, but we run across properties all the time, and I want to open that thing to my list of or my investors internally and let them take a look at it. And if it works, we can do like some kind of JV, or I'm more than comfortable assigning that as a wholesale transaction for you. We just closed one in Corpus Christi, or just outside of Corpus Christi. It was about 90 acres. I'm about to close another one right outside of Salado. Who are familiar with the Round Rock area, it's 40 acres. Just a builder came in and put that thing under contract, all wholesale transaction. I have no intention at this time of splitting, but we come across in the properties. If you are one of those who looking for big parcels, I am more than happy to put you into my inner circle, and I run that property by you first before I put it on the market or I go outside. So you can reach out to me and that kind of stuff. And so we can partner and move these things fast. I'm not really interested in JVs. If I can wholesale and you can pay me like an upfront, I'm more than happy with that at this point.
That's fantastic. And if someone has anything like that, note buyers comes across these types of deals, how can they get in touch with you?
They can hit me up on DM me on Facebook. I also have a small kind of Facebook group called Land Arbitrage. You can join there and we can go from there. I make announcement here and there when I can. I have nothing as sophisticated and organized that Kendall does, but I'm trying to put my message across. So I use my own group sometimes to get that message across. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you guys so much. Anshul, thank you so much for joining us. This has been absolutely incredible, just a wealth of information. Thank you for being so candid and sharing so much with us. I know that I got a lot of value out of this. I hope everyone else did. And thank you guys so much for joining us and for asking so many fantastic questions. So until then, be great. Have a great week. We look forward to seeing you next week for another fantastic episode. And we'll catch you in the next one. Take care, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. If you're interested in hearing from other 6- and 7-figure land flippers about how they've built and run their businesses, then check out my group, Only Land Fans, where I do a live interview each week inside the group. You can grab that link at the description below. Until then, be great, have a great week, and catch you in the next one.